Colin. Thanks for stopping. So you have sort of two distinct music arenas that you're in. You scored a lot of horror films and also doing kind of indie, folksy, cozy music. Is there a thread between that at all? Or that you're just two different brains?
I'm wondering what the indie, folksy, cutesy music is now. But is there a thread? I imagine the answer to that question is that, well, the answer is yes. But the thread probably is more of all of the other things that I know about in my music making that maybe that everyone's not aware of. So there's a lot of in between. There's a lot of ground there in between the horror and the and something like maybe the music that I made for Disney's maybe the NASA show is something a little bit lighter. But I mean the through line being that I like to make music that is affecting, and
right.
So I have no genre affiliation or particular affinity. It really just is I'm attracted to story and I want to make music in such a way that helps like affecting stories do what they're doing.
So this story takes place in a very kind of heightened, like effete, fancy setting. Did that play at all or into the score? Was that in mind?
Absolutely. Yeah, especially in introducing everything, the doorway into the rest. Getting us on the boat, getting us on the island. That really was. I tried to play into what it was that we were expecting out of what it was the diners were expecting. What it was really going on in our minds for that night to be, and then to setting myself up so that juxtaposing that later on with other very disparate elements could be as jarring as possible.
Great. And last quick fun question. You're at a fancy Michelin star rated restaurant. What is your go-to order?
The go-to order?
Yeah. If you have any food in the world, what would it be?
It's
your birthday.
It's my birthday. It's a ribeye. It's always just like a very rare slab of meat. That's the go-to.
Good try. I might have to second that as well. All right. Thanks, Colin. It was a pleasure.
Hi, how's it
Hello.
going?
What's your name?
My name's Sydney. What's your name?
Hi, Cindy. I'm Reed Burney.
So nice to meet you,
Thank you.
Reed.
Thank you.
So to start us off, this movie's all about food and Michelin stars. Would you describe yourself as a foodie?
No. My wife loves all the cooking shows, but I'm like a grilled cheese and a Campbell's tomato soup is sort of a dream meal for me.
I absolutely love it.
Yeah.
This is a very intense, very kind of funny, dark comedy drama.
Yeah.
How would you describe that dynamic on set? What was it like?
Well, we laughed our heads off, honestly. We never really worried about the tone. We sort of left that to our incredible director, Mark Mylod, and we just we let the script take care of itself. And I from what I gather, it did. But it was a very, very happy, easygoing set.
I love to hear that.
Yeah.
So much contrast to the actual subject matter of the
I know.
film.
I think sometimes the darker a movie is, the more you goof off in between takes.
Do you have a personal favorite aspect of your performance that you're most excited for viewers to see?
Well, I haven't seen it, so I'm hoping that they feel a little sorry for him. That's what I'm hoping, because I think Richard, my character, is a little bit of a tragic character. He's incapable of joy. So I think that's sad.
What is it about playing characters like that are a little more solemn? How do they compare to the happier characters you might play?
I love the guys that are tortured.
Really?
Yeah, there's just more meat on the bones to play, and more complicated emotions and things. It's weird to say, but happy people, you sort of feel like, well, good for you. I got nothing else to say. I'm glad you're happy.
There's more to say about
There's
that.
more to say about, the
Absolutely.
tortured souls.
Well, thank you so much.
Thank you.
What was that first impression?
It was such a eclectic group of people and such a great environment to stage this sort of satire and this sort of story, because you can bring together all these people from different walks of life that do share some things in common, and then just sort of let all of the events that do unfold do so in such a contained environment. It felt like almost like a stage play because everything is contained on the one set for the most part. There are some scenes that do happen outside of the restaurant itself, but it really does feel like a stage play in that respect. And then, of course, Mark being the director was a huge part of it as well.
So you mentioned it felt like a stage play. Mark's TV, I guess, resume to me, there's very stage, like Succession feels very like, dialogue heavy, like you're watching a play. And I was wondering, working with him, what's his style like? What was that like working with a TV guy making a feature film? And
well, it's very interesting because he's really into collaboration. So some improv would happen. Didn't always end up in the final product, but he was so encouraging when it came to collaboration. And he would run the camera for long periods of time. So instead of, on a lot of movies, you might only run the camera, even if the scene has 7-8 pages, you might only do 2 or 3 pages at a time, just to kind of keep it broken up and give the actors a chance to reset. But he would keep the cameras rolling for these very long stretches of the script, which some actors struggle with. But if you do come from stage, it's a welcome change because then you get to really feel the scene start to develop and you can immerse yourself more in that environment, and it actually leads to more discoveries that way because you're in the moment so much longer, and so a lot of stuff starts to get discovered, and not every idea is worth keeping, but that's what's the fun part of collaboration is you keep the stuff that works, you throw out the stuff that doesn't, and Mark was great at creating that type of environment.
Well, so Rafe Fiennes was reared on the stage. He's British, Shakespearean. I actually just saw him here in Straight Line Crazy, and it's amazing to see him just for like 3 hours going, and seeing him with this directorial style that just allows him to breathe and go on and on. What was that experience like?
Rafe was great. Between takes, he would actually go back into what was actually on the set, the chef's office, and he would work on lines. The consummate professional, such an inspiration for a younger actor in that he was always working on the script. And hearing this from other actors as well, that because I came in pretty far into the shoot schedule, and so the other actors that were there that got to experience him much longer can attest to the fact that he was just always in it. And not to like a dangerous degree where you're scared of chef between takes. He was still accessible, but you could see that he was so focused on the character and on the material, and that was inspiring.
He didn't become Voldemort on set. His nose didn't disappear, and he electrocuted you guys.
Exactly.
Right. So, final quick fun question: you're at a Michelin-rated restaurant. It's your birthday. What are you ordering?
Ooh, I'm ordering the most expensive steak on the menu. I don't like steak with a lot of fat or bone, so it'd be sort of a boneless cut of some sort. Got to have some side dishes with that, and I'm a huge sweets guy, so I'm going for some sort of creme brulee or some sort of fancy dessert that costs way too much.
Beautiful. Well, thanks so much. Really appreciate it. And excited to see the film.
Hello. How are you?
Good. How are you? Thank you.
So nice to meet you. Now, you did the production design for this film. It's very intense. It's a bit of a drama. Walk me through that process. What was it like?
I guess we've all been to destination restaurants and we've all had that feeling of like, this is amazing. I want this to last forever. And also like, I kind of feel like I'm in prison and maybe something terrible is going to happen. It's that weird moment where you're stuck somewhere for many, many hours. And I've always felt like filmmaking and food making are really similar. They're all delivered in several courses. It's really structured. It's temporary, instant families, and then it's over and you miss it. So yeah, I mean, the goal here was to make it feel a little bit sinister and a little bit hilarious and incredibly authentic.
So what was it like trying to capture those more sinister moments? Did you run into any challenges with that?
Whenever you're doing a set where people need to be for most of a movie.
So what were your first thoughts when you heard we're doing a horror film centered around fine dining? What's your first impression?
That's not what they said to me.
They tricked you.
Yeah, they tricked me. No. I read the script and I said I want to do it because I saw myself a lot in his cell. So it was like all about being a part of storytelling that maybe perhaps is not just about horror or fine dining. And nothing to do with it. I think it's something else. That's right. You know what I'm saying? Have you seen the movie?
No, I haven't. About 30 minutes.
I think it's about getting into the mind of someone that has so much pain.
Right.
And the way that I think the most creative people are the one that like get their pen out into art, and he's so a genius and he's talented, but the world and his life is kind of coming down on him with all the pressure that this world is giving him. Mm-hmm. And I think that for me it touched really much a lot in my industry, the mental health, the pressure of other and the validation, and like the perfection and all of that. So I think it was important to say, hey, I understand this guy. Mm-hmm. I understand it. I'm not that person, but I understand. And I think that story needs to be told, not just about the chef that you see on TV and like beat somebody else or like cook, competition, but someone that as a human, not perfect.
So I know Ray Fiennes, as an actor, is really a perfectionist, and he has that drive and commitment to his craft. So do you consult him at all and what it's like being a chef? And
so I had to, one of my job was to work with him and to kind of guide him through the character of who I am in life, and so the things that I gave him, I said, think about being a conductor, and you have the symphony in front of you, and all the instruments and all the people that are doing it are a part of what the music's going to come out. If someone is not right, then it's going to mess up everything. So it's about being a conductor, have a confidence, the intensity of yourself, because you're leading an amazing group of people to make this music beautiful. Then detail, attention to detail. That's it. And when you walk, you own the place. With movement and beauty, but you own the place. That's how I teach it. It was nothing about being a chef. It was about this strong human that coming and own it,
You gotta have bravado to make good food,
Yes, you do.
You can tell when you eat if the chef had swagger or not.
Exactly.
So did Ray for any other actors actually prepare, make food on set at all?
No. No, we just fed them because if all the food on the menu, also we just fed them. So all the food on the menu was not prop food, was literally the real thing. And we gave them a tasting menu for 5, 10, 20 take, but that was real, and that was very important for me to make sure that what they were eating was good.
Last question. What was the best thing on that menu?
Everything.
Everything?
Everything.
Okay.
Everything.
What was the dessert? Or was that a spoiler alert?
That's a spoiler. You got to
see the movie and you'll know the answer to that question.
Absolutely, yes.
All right, thank you so much. Appreciate it.
So we just saw you in the Weird Al biopic where you
very,
were Pablo
very
Escobar.
different, yeah.
You've had a bit of a resume building year, I would say. How what's the contrast been like through all the different projects this year, and what's that been like?
Oh man, I play them all like they're romantic comedies, and then people tell me differently, but I don't find out until the day premieres. No, it's been wonderful to be able to jump around many genres, but this one's very near to my heart as well.
Do you have a favorite?
Between those two? No, I don't think so. I spent longer on this. This was 2 months, and I got to meet a lot of people that were all my friends. But and I learned a lot from him, from Ray, from everybody,
I love it.
Yeah.
Would you consider yourself a foodie? I know we got a lot of food in this film, a lot of high quality.
It's a tricky question because I do love food, but a foodie, I don't really search out the hottest restaurant. I just kind of eat I eat anything that's in front of me, really.
I love it. How would you describe your character? What can we expect to see?
Kind of a douchey tech bro. So I had to go do a lot of research in the financial district of New York. I just sit around and talk to people. No, he's just a guy that's a bit arrogant and he gets his due, so it's pretty fun.
I love it. Thank you so much. Excited to see it.
Who's the best improver on set? You've named it. Come up unanimously.
Yay.
You won the award.
Awesome.
So what's the experience like? Having a director that really trusts you to just go, not call cut.
Oh my God, it's a blessing, man. I mean, when you have directors of the magnitude of Mark Mylod, who loves actors, who loves creativity, you get this safe space where you can fail, man. That's what you want to be as an artist. Be allowed to fail. Let me try anything. It may not work. It may be genius, but that's the only way you're going to get the best out of me.
Yeah. So both you and Rafe have acting experience. You're not just in front of a camera, but just being on stage where you're uninterrupted for hours. Was that maybe sensation or experience recreated at all on set?
That's a great question because it was. I mean, because we're all on stage all the time. Sometimes you're not on, but you're being seen. So you had to maintain. It's like you were in a play. You had to stay in character no matter what, because it might cut to you next. They might see you in the background. So it was a lot of pressure. It was a lot of work, but it was fun.
Yeah. So I was speaking to the writers, and they were kind of complaining that they just got to eat the craft service food. Well, you guys actually had the menu, fine dining experience.
But come on, you couldn't eat it most of it because it had shellac on it.
Oh, okay.
She was making it look beautiful, but it was already cold.
So there's more to the story than I've been led to believe.
Some of it was really good though, but then she didn't have enough because I would eat all the steak. She goes, "You got to stop eating the props." I go, "But I have to eat it on camera because I started eating." I was lying. I was just hungry. But now she had to constantly make steak for me, and it was so good.
You got to stop eating the props is one of the greatest notes I think I've ever.
Yeah.
You tell like a kindergarten play, but you were. What was the favorite thing that you had?
It was the steak, and then the
steak.
chicken was incredible too. Mm-hmm. And they told you when you could eat it, when you couldn't eat it, because some of it was shellacked and some of it was fresh for eating.
Mm-hmm. So last question, I've been going on kind of a Ray Fiennes binge myself.
Oh,
What's your favorite?
Ray Fiennes?
Yeah.
I guess I gotta say Schindler's List and the new play that he's in, the Robert
Straight Line
Moses.
Crazy, I saw that. Yeah.
So he's amazing. The whole cast is brilliant.